At 75, Bishop Paul Morton has finally spoken out, and his words are sending shockwaves across the faith community. He's warning Bishop Creflo Dollar in a way no one expected: direct, unfiltered, and deeply personal. For decades, both men have shaped the landscape of modern ministry, but now, at the pinnacle of their influence, a confrontation is unfolding that insiders say could redefine the very meaning of spiritual authority. What did Bishop Morton say, and why is this warning leaving seasoned pastors and congregants stunned? What happens next could change the dynamics of leadership in the church forever. For decades, Bishop Paul Morton and Bishop Creflo Dollar have been two of the most influential voices in modern ministry. Their teachings, leadership, and public presence have shaped countless lives, guiding thousands of believers across the country and around the world. Each man commands respect, influence, and a platform that few could ever dream of. But now, after years of navigating the complex world of church leadership, Bishop Morton has issued a warning that has left both congregants and fellow pastors talking. And it's not just a casual admonishment, it's a message layered with history, experience, and authority, coming from a man who has seen it all. Insiders say this warning is rooted in deep concern over leadership decisions, public statements, and the trajectory of one of America's most prominent ministries. It's a warning that exposes tension, challenges assumptions, and calls into question choices that many thought were untouchable. You won't believe what Bishop Morton said, why he waited until now to speak, and the ripple effects that could follow. This is where it gets unbelievable. As we break down the warning, explore the history between these two leaders, and uncover the reactions from insiders and congregants alike, you'll see why this story has everyone talking. By the end of this video, you'll understand not just the words Bishop Morton spoke, but the power, the stakes, and the consequences behind them. And what happens next? It could redefine the conversation around leadership, accountability, and influence in the modern church. Bishop Paul Morton has spent over half a century in ministry. His life has been a story of resilience, faith, and unwavering dedication to guiding others. From founding ministries to mentoring young leaders, his influence has extended far beyond his own congregation. People look to him not just for spiritual guidance, but for wisdom on leadership, financial stewardship, and navigating the pressures of ministry life. His voice carried weight, not because of fame, but because of decades of experience, insight, and results that few could match. Bishop Creflo Dollar, on the other hand, has built a ministry that is recognized globally. He commands millions of followers, influences conversations about prosperity theology, and has a public persona that few leaders can rival. His teachings have inspired countless believers, but they have also generated controversy, criticism, and scrutiny from both the public and peers. For years, these two leaders shared mutual respect, knowing each other not just as peers, but as pioneers who helped shape modern ministry. They moved in similar circles, attended conferences, collaborated on initiatives, and occasionally offered counsel to one another. Their paths, while distinct, were intertwined by vision, ambition, and a shared desire to elevate the church's influence. But insiders say that over time, differences emerged. Differences in philosophy, approaches to ministry, public statements, and the handling of financial resources began to create subtle tension. It wasn't a dramatic feud, not at first, but more like an undercurrent, a quiet disagreement beneath the surface of respect and friendship. And now, after decades of observing, guiding, and leading, Bishop Paul Morton has reached a point where he feels compelled to speak out. At 75, he is no longer willing to remain silent. Sources say his warning to Bishop Dollar is not just about public perception, it's about accountability, legacy, and the spiritual direction of one of the nation's most influential ministries. What makes this warning so significant is not simply the content of the message, but the timing. Many insiders are asking, why now? Why wait until this moment to address concerns? And what does it mean for followers, for leadership structures, and for the ministry's future? The warning is rooted in experience, observation, and a deep understanding of the stakes involved. Bishop Morton is speaking from a place few can challenge, a lifetime of ministry, navigating challenges and witnessing the consequences of unchecked decisions. And for Bishop Dollar, this is a rare moment, a direct message from a peer who has walked a similar path, faced similar pressures, and understands the complexities of leadership in the modern church. After decades of careful observation, leadership, and mentorship, Bishop Paul Morton finally delivered a warning to Bishop Creflo Dollar, a warning that insiders describe as direct, unflinching, and impossible to ignore. Sources say this wasn't just a casual remark or a friendly piece of advice. It was a deliberate message, carefully crafted to address issues that Bishop Morton felt had reached a critical point. The content of the warning reportedly touched on several sensitive topics: leadership decisions, financial practices, public statements, and the broader impact of ministry teachings were all included. What made the message so powerful was not just the critique itself, but the authority behind it. Bishop Morton isn't a newcomer to ministry. He isn't someone whose opinion can be dismissed lightly. His decades of experience, the lives he has influenced, and the credibility he has built give his words weight that few can challenge. Insiders report that Bishop Morton expressed concern over the trajectory of Bishop Dollar's ministry, particularly regarding accountability and influence. In private conversations, he reportedly emphasized the importance of legacy, stewardship, and spiritual integrity, warning that certain choices could have long-term consequences for both the ministry and its followers. The reaction was immediate and layered. Among close leadership circles, there was a mix of surprise, agreement, and tension. Some leaders applauded Bishop Morton's courage, recognizing the necessity of transparency and accountability, while others feared the confrontation could spark public controversy or create division. Within congregations, whispers began to circulate as people tried to understand the implications of the warning and what it meant for the future of the ministry. For Bishop Dollar himself, sources say receiving this warning was both humbling and challenging. Sources suggest he was aware of the concerns, but the directness of Bishop Morton's words reportedly forced him to confront questions he may have previously avoided. For leaders who have spent decades cultivating influence, power, and impact, moments like these are rarely easy. And yet, insiders indicate that Bishop Morton's message was delivered not out of malice, but out of a sincere desire to guide, caution, and preserve the spiritual health of the ministry. The timing of the warning has fueled even more speculation. Why now? Some suggest that Bishop Morton observed patterns over time that became increasingly concerning, patterns that, if left unaddressed, could affect thousands of followers. Others believe that the warning is part of a larger shift within the faith community, one where seasoned leaders are increasingly calling for transparency, accountability, and authentic leadership. And then there was the public ripple. While the warning was delivered privately, insiders confirmed that the news quickly spread. Congregants began discussing the implications. Social media posts hinted at disagreement and reflection. Church leadership forums were buzzing with speculation. The warning, intended as a private admonishment, became a topic of broader conversation, a moment that highlighted both the influence of these leaders and the deep curiosity of their followers. But here's where it gets particularly dramatic. Insiders say the warning included a personal element, one that hit harder than organizational critique. Bishop Morton reportedly reminded Bishop Dollar that leadership is not just about influence, it is about legacy, responsibility, and the spiritual welfare of those entrusted to your guidance. In other words, the message wasn't just about ministry strategy, it was a profound challenge to consider the moral and spiritual consequences of every decision made at the top. This personal dimension is what has captured the attention of observers. Many are now asking, how will Bishop Dollar respond? Will he take the guidance seriously, or will it spark conflict? And more importantly, what will this mean for the thousands of congregants whose faith, trust, and allegiance are intertwined with his ministry? The warning, while intended as a private admonishment, has already begun to shape conversations, influence perceptions, and ignite speculation about the future of modern ministry leadership. And as insiders note, this is just the beginning. The full impact, they warn, may take months or even years to fully manifest. As decisions are made, messages are interpreted, and consequences become visible. The moment Bishop Paul Morton's warning reached Bishop Creflo Dollar, the impact began to ripple far beyond private leadership circles. Congregants, volunteers, and ministry staff began sensing a shift even if they didn't know the full details of the conversation. Those closest to both leaders noticed noticed subtle changes in tone during sermons, adjustments in programming, and a renewed emphasis on transparency and accountability. For some, these were reassuring signs. For others, they sparked concern, curiosity, and even apprehension. Many longtime congregants describe a new awareness that leadership decisions carry weight, not just for the church's reputation, but for the spiritual health of every individual involved. Families who had attended the ministry for decades began revisiting their relationship with the church, some questioning decisions they had previously taken for granted. Volunteer teams noticed a change in communication from leadership, and mentorship programs began emphasizing the importance of integrity and personal responsibility. But perhaps the most profound effect was emotional. For years, followers had admired Bishop Dollar's dynamic ministry and inspirational messaging. Now there was a new layer of reflection. People wondered how leaders handle critique, accountability, and personal admonition from peers they deeply respect. Conversations in church lobbies, small groups, and private gatherings often turned to one question: how do we reconcile respect for leadership with the need for accountability? The warning became a lens through which many evaluated not just Bishop Dollar's ministry, but the principles of